All right, we just passed the unofficial end of summer on Labor Day, and we're moving towards the season of fall. Makes me kind of sad, but looking back on summer, it's a time in New York City where you think about street ball, with Rucker Park being one of the most iconic courts in the city. The summer season at Rucker Park, it was a good one, that's what I heard. So we're going to talk about it with a guy who is the senior manager of partnerships and growth at Rucker Park. That is Nathaniel Cooke, and he joins me now. Nathaniel, what's up, man? How you doing?
How you guys doing, man? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, man. Good to talk to you. I'm glad we get to talk about, I'm always glad we get to talk about basketball, but particularly New York City street ball. And Nathaniel, I said this, I didn't get to head uptown this summer to catch some games, but I heard the action was pretty good. What was it like being there this summer and witnessing Team Kyrie Irving winning the championship, at Rucker Park?
Yeah, man. Again, thanks for having me, Dex. It was a great season being there. Seen all the amazing events, activations that we had at the park this year. We really was happy with our growth. We had the Big 12 come. Big 12 had their coaches clinics there, part of our 2-year agreement with them. That was really impactful for us. And obviously, Kyrie team winning the championship was just impactful. Last year, Team Sean Bell won. But this year, Team Kyrie won, A11 team. And it was just important because we had an NBA All-Star First Ballot Hall of Famer who had just been carrying the flag for Rucker this summer. He coached a lot of our games. Him as long as Kyle Anderson, that plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They both were coaches for A11 this year. And just him carrying that flag and then his team going all the way to win the championship just did wonders for the notoriety of the park, obviously, and just helping us continue to build it. Even though we're an established brand, just keep that brand growing and evolving. So it was really impactful to see firsthand.
Yeah, always good to see the brand growing and evolving. Everybody knows about Rucker Park, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that, about it going to new heights, new levels, and where you guys are trying to push it. But I also wanted to talk to you about this because there's an ongoing discussion that the vibe around NYC street ball isn't the same. As somebody who's involved with Rucker Park, the legendary Rucker Park, what do you say to that notion? And do you think there's a revival or evolution of street ball in the city that's going on right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dex. I think, for a while, street ball, like I said, was so dominated by us at Rucker Park. We were kind of the face of street ball in New York City, but this street ball, the brand and just the lifestyle, the culture, everything that is incorporated in street ball had just evolved. Even outside, you look at from Drew League in LA, what Jamal Crawford does in Seattle with his pro-am and Isaiah Thomas, and you obviously have Dykeman, you have Gersh, you have Kingdom, you have all these different options now that you didn't used to have. So it creates a good competitive balance. But I think street ball is definitely reviving because I think people miss that kind of basketball, that kind of community, a kind of culture. We're just coming out of the pandemic. We have inflation is high. People are going through a lot of different personal issues. So street ball brings people together. And I think that's been part of the revitalization. You see parks are selling out. People are just packed to the crowd every night just to get that sense of community again and get that competitive basketball. Because I feel like a lot of people feel that the NBA or sometimes professional basketball lacks that competitive spirit, and that's what you get with the street ball culture. So I think that's part of the revival as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Listen, when I ever go to any of these tournaments, particularly your guys, what you do at Rucker Park is always that competitive spirit. It's always that sense of community that you're talking about as well, too. And I think people always remember, Nathaniel, a lot of the iconic moments around street ball, right? And so I got to talk to you about this. We got to talk about the greatest game that never was, that it was supposed to go down at Rucker Park. Back in 2003, Jay-Z squad was supposed to play Fat Joe's squad, but the game never went down due to the blackout that happened that summer. Looking at the rosters, which team do you think would have won that game? Because pretty some talented guys are supposed to suit up for this one. Which team do you think would have won, Jay-Z's or Fat Joe's?
See, the crazy thing is, Jay-Z team had like LeBron and Shaq, and he had so many. But I think, honestly, Fat Joe team would have won. Only reason because I would say Fat Joe team would have won is just because you had the Sashin, you had Melo, you had Jermaine O'Neal in his prime, Yao Ming, obviously Marbury Iverson as the backcourt. And I know a lot of young kids don't remember how nasty maybe Stephon and them was. So I think they would have definitely gave Jay-Z a run for his money to win. Jay-Z team was a killer too, obviously with Sebastian, Jamal Crawford. Shout out to him what he does at his pro-am. But I think at the end of the day, Fat Joe team would have took it.
All right, so you're going with Fat Joe's team taking. Listen, this was a loaded team. Just to let the people know, Talked about Sebastian Telfair on Jay-Z's squad, Jamal Crawford, LeBron James, Lamar Odom, and Shaq. And Fat Joe, you mentioned this, had Iverson, Marbury, Melo, Jermaine O'Neal, and Gal. Man, that would have been a crazy game. Sucks we didn't get to see it. It would have been really nice if we got to see it. But okay, I can see that. Going with Fat Joe on that one would have been a crazy one. Okay, last thing for you, Nathaniel. What's next for Rucker Park? Everybody knows it as a legendary spot to pull up and watch a game. And speaking of legendary, Greg Marius, rest in peace, he did a lot of work to get things to where they are today for Rucker Park. But where do you see things growing for the park? Where is this going in the future?
Yeah, especially just shout out to Greg, rest in peace. Him and Gus, everything that they created gave a lane for me to even come up here and do what I do with Rucker Park. I think the future Rucker Park is so bright. I know we talked about it, Dex, too, before off air, is that, really the plan and strategy is creating a 365 activation and 365 experience with Rucker Park, whether that be on the road, at the park, just creating that experience because there's such a high demand of it. And then so many of our fans, so much of the community, even out in New York, even outside of New York, say, hey, we get people inquiries in Chicago, LA, all over the place. Hey, we need Rucker out here. Hey, we need Rucker to come out here. So that's really the plan of it, just creating a 365 activation outside of just doing things in the summer, but also creating this experience for the community, making sure that, we give things back to the community. We want to start scholarship funds for our students and give them back and making sure that, we're always entrenched into the community, which Gus and Greg did such a great job of building that foundation. So I'll say that's just the future of us, continue to expand, going on the road, touching these different cities and letting them feel Rucker Park and see the impact that we had, not just in New York City, but all over the world.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love hearing that you guys want to push this all over the world and make this a 365 thing around Rucker Park. I'm wishing you guys all the best success with that. Next summer, well, it's going to be a 365 thing, so before next summer. But next summer, I definitely got to pull up, catch some games.
We need you out there, Dex.
Yes, I will be out there. I definitely will be out there, so we're going to connect for sure. But I'm glad we got to connect here, Nathaniel. I really appreciate it. That is Nathaniel Cooke. He is the Senior Manager of Partnerships and Growth at Rucker Park. Nathaniel, thanks for the time. We will talk again soon, man.
Thanks so much, Dex, for having me. Have a great day, guys.
Anytime. You too, man.